Hey everyone. Damn Canada. What the hell is going on with our borders? I mean, yeah, we know it's the longest undefended border on the planet, but and so porous it's like it's been considered like Swiss cheese, right? But we do have a federal government and the whole pretense of their mandate is to protect our fucking borders, which and you look into Justin Trudeau and his cohorts and even his provincial counterparts, they're turning a blind eye and they don't seem to give a fuck about what the kind of illegality or the kind of people that are coming into this country illegally, right? This is fucked up. And I guess because of that, well, they're setting a precedent for the rest of Canada, which leads me right up to this headline from the National: Regina woman faces human smuggling charges. So yeah, well, this is the kind of shit you're telling Canadian people, is not only to accept and embrace illegal immigrants, people breaking the law to come into this country as if they're, suffering some massive form of oppression in the U.S. Fuck off. Like, really though? I mean, fucking bullshit. Canada is fucking worse than the U.S. as far as freedoms. So yeah, if they're fleeing that country because they're worried about the freedoms, wait till they fucking actually lived here for a little while, right? But come on, this is fucking insane. I'm just going to play a little bit of this audio so you can listen to and get the baseline understanding and the pretense of what this story is all about.
North Portal, Saskatchewan. As far as border crossings go, this one is pretty quiet. But on Friday night, the first real glimpse into how Canadian and American authorities are tracking how some asylum seekers are crossing the border.
The CBSA uncovered evidence to suggest suspected smugglers were allegedly bringing foreign nationals into Canada.
Authorities say one of their suspects was flagged crossing alone into the U.S. An hour later,
the RCMP intercepted a female Canadian resident who was driving north of the border in Canada. In her vehicle were 9 foreign nationals who failed to report to the CBSA upon entering Canada.
The vehicle's driver, 43-year-old Michelle Omarui, faces 2 human smuggling-related charges. She's declined comment in what police allege was a for-profit enterprise.
If there's humanitarian reasons for aiding or facilitating smuggling, then generally, no, there would not be charges.
American officials also made arrests. The investigation continues. Refugee advocates say this is likely not isolated.
Reality around the world is that many times refugees do have to depend upon smugglers to help them get across the barriers that are put up.
The 9 people who crossed the border have not been charged. They qualify to make asylum claims under the Refugee Act. In recent months, the number of asylum seekers has been going up. New numbers for March show what many expected: a sharp increase in numbers of interceptions at the border by RCMP, almost doubling since January 1st to nearly 2,000 people. Quebec and Manitoba have the highest numbers. While some are being detained by border services, most are being allowed into the country to make a refugee claim. These asylum seekers arrived in Manitoba in January, fleeing violence in Djibouti. Whether they get to stay is unclear. They're all waiting for refugee board hearings.
I want to get here freedom and health here too. This is what I'm asking Canada government.
Today, the Office for the Public Safety Minister said it's monitoring the increased numbers and is confident in the RCMP and Canada Border Services Agency. It would not offer a comment, however, on the arrest, saying that's a matter for the courts.
So as you're hearing, I mean, just listen to this stuff. Like I say, the federal government is setting the precedent, and their crony corporates that are salivating at the very prospect of bringing a lot of this cheap fucking labor, right? Or some of these wealthy fucking 0.001 percenters that could probably use these people as nannies or servants of some sort. There are a lot of people that are going to benefit from this mass influx of illegal immigrants, and of course government workers, public sector employees that get to keep their jobs and keep the pretense of actually needing them, right? So they can deal with these files and all this bullshit. Like I say, the people that are going to benefit from this are all about the most vile and corrupt among us, whereas the average Canadian citizen, whether we now have these people that are potential threats as far as terrorism and their ideology is concerned, or you have to compete with them in the ever-shrinking job market, or the overinflated housing market where you have to compete for a smaller pool of housing and rental units, or have to pay for them because they realize that Canada has a massive social safety net because we're quasi-socialist in nature. Well, not we, but the government is. So, like I say, there's benefits to these illegal immigrants and to crony corporations and governmental entities or institutions. But for the average Canadian, those of us that are going to have to pony up and be forced to pay or subsidize all this shit, or have to suffer the consequence of all this stuff, yeah, like I say, the government set a precedent that they don't give a fuck. And now you have people like this Regina woman that's going along because, like, hey, if the government's doing it, what the fuck? I might as well too, right? Because it seems to be an acceptable behavior now in Canada. See, this is the kind of shit that happens. Justin Trudeau, he's such a, you know what? Send this fucking piece of shit back to being a drama school teacher, because really that's probably the best thing he could probably hope for a future in his life, because he sure as fuck don't know how to be a decent, moral human being or even a leader, right? Fuck the fact that he pretends he's a ruler, but he wouldn't even make out as a decent leader in the real world. This kind of shit is disgusting, people. We got to stop allowing this shit to happen, because like I say, even though you don't suffer, you might not seem to be suffering any immediate consequences, time will play out. Time will show you that this is going to end up to be a detriment to the society of Canada and how we cohabitate and coexist amongst each other. Mark my words, this is going to be perilous. If we don't start to speak up now and people don't start to get on board and stop fucking playing this politically correct bullshit, right? Stand in opposition to this kind of mass influx of immigration, especially considering it's done illegal. You no longer even have the pretense of doing it under the guise of legal authority. This is illegal even under the pretense of your own central planners, even under their own laws and edicts. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.